Disney Lucasfilm are excited to announce the return of Star Wars. Get excited to see the return of all your favorite heroes to the big screen. Han, Solo, Luke, Skywalker, Princess Leia. Strap in as you watch your beloved heroes reunite and go on another epic Star Wars Skywalker adventure.
Trailer Man?
Yes.
It's not actually about the Skywalkers anymore.
Wait, what?
Yeah, heroes can be anybody, not just Skywalkers.
Yeah, but it's Star Wars. The whole premise of the franchise is about the Skywalkers.
Well, we want to inspire a new target audience.
Okay. Get ready to see Luke Skywalker, Jedi Master, save the galaxy.
Can I just stop you there? Luke isn't gonna be like the Luke in the main Star Wars movies.
Oh, okay. Get ready to watch Han, Luke, and Leia fight back and bring...
Can I just stop you there, Trailer Man? Han isn't actually gonna reunite with his best friend Luke. He'll just die in the first movie, and we'll never actually see him together on screen ever again.
What? No! Han and Luke were best friends!
He'll be this depressing character who hides away and wants to destroy the Jedi. But instead of blue milk, he's gonna be drinking green milk. It would be pretty funny. He'll no longer be the beacon of hope for the galaxy in these new Star Wars films. That'd be for our new characters, so we'll make way for a new generation of Star Wars fans. Also, he'll briefly meet up with Leia, but not in real life. He'll be through a forced projection of himself. I don't know, but then none of them will actually see each other again. We decided that fans don't want to see that. They don't want to see the old Star Wars characters. They want these new ones that we're gonna totally bring into this new Star Wars trilogy.
Oh, well, I suppose at least Luke will reunite with his twin sister, Leia, in these new Star Wars films.
Yeah, but then Luke would die in the second film for no reason whatsoever.
Okay, I'm done.
I think one of the most monumental cock-ups with these new Star Wars sequels is that the most obvious thing to make these movies a resounding success with fans old and new was staring Disney Lucasfilm right in the face. Yet it slipped past everyone, the writers, the producers, and all the other creative teams. Of course, what I'm talking about here is Luke, Han, and Leia not being on screen together ever again. To me, they've always been the beating heart of Star Wars. They always have been and always will be. Well, perhaps until The Force Awakens, and definitely The Last Jedi. I don't know about you, but when I bought my Force Awakens ticket, I bought a ticket to join a new galactic adventure with new heroes, new ships, and new everything, yes. But mainly to see the characters' dynamics with the now older Luke, Han, and Leia, and also C-3PO, R2-D2, and Chewie. So what the hell happened? Who decided to split them up in separate films? Who decided to kill our heroes off? Who decided it would be a good idea and thought that's what Star Wars fans would want? We'll get into this shortly. Remember all the hype when they announced Star Wars would be returning to the big screen? Everything went crazy. The media were all over it like flies around Bantha Poodoo. And you know what everyone was most excited about seeing? Luke, Han, and Princess Leia. You've got to only look at the trailer reactions for that Force Awakens trailer when Han says, "Chewie, we're home." It made fans cry, scream and shout with excitement. Everything looks amazing. Until you watch the film and realize you've been double-crossed.
People get to see it, but the movie became what it became for a reason. It's beautiful.
It almost tricked you into thinking you'd be watching Han, Luke, and Leia, but instead you left the theatre with a dead Han, a Luke Skywalker who didn't say anything throughout the whole of the film, and quite literally used as a cliffhanger to lure you into the next movie, Episode 8, and other characters like R2-D2 just cast aside. It's at this point I started to come to the realization perhaps the biggest mistake had just been made, and I feel like since The Last Jedi has passed, the sadness has begun to set in. I've come to the realization that we will never see our heroes back together again. Fans have dreamed of this happening since Revenge of the Sith, and for a moment we all thought Disney Lucasfilm were going to deliver, but what we got instead was a dead Han. After the Han that reverted back to his character at the start of New Hope, I don't understand why he turned back into a smuggler. A Princess Leia who looks like she needs a long holiday from all the resisting and rebelling she's been doing all her life, and a Luke Skywalker for 2 seconds at the end. I think this is the biggest mistake that Disney Lucasfilm have made when creating this trilogy as a whole. But the moment when they killed off Han Solo, the sense of betrayal began to set in. The sense that Lucasfilm perhaps hasn't noticed how important their long-awaited reunion was in this film, but instead they opted for a phrase which is now commonplace in current-day Lucasfilm: subverted expectations. Yes, killing off Han in the first movie certainly subverted my expectations, and doing it yet again to Luke in The Last Jedi subverted my expectations even further. But they were only subverted because that would have been the worst and most stupid thing to do with these beloved heroes who still carry the Star Wars franchise. You just think they wouldn't go there, but Disney Lucasfilm did, and continued to do so after The Force Awakens, thanks to Rian Johnson.
I told Brian this, it's no surprise. I said, I just fundamentally disagree with your concept of this character and how you use him.
You know what's sad? We'll never get that moment. You know, that special nostalgic or epic scene where all the original characters are once again together, like old times, after so much time has passed. It would have been such a special, magical moment. Something I'm sure that ended up being incredibly emotional, carried so much weight, and gone down in Star Wars history as one of those scenes. Like one of these classics.
I love you.
I know.
Okay, one more.
It's a trap.
Han could have pulled Luke out of hiding with Chewie and been like, hey kid, I like the beard. Leia could have actually seen Luke in person, and her and Luke could have shared some Skywalker Jedi stuff about Anakin, seeing as Leia is still Force sensitive and technically a Skywalker. What was Disney thinking? What was Kathleen Kennedy thinking? What was Lucasfilm's story group thinking? What was J.J. Abrams thinking? What was Rian Johnson thinking? Subverting expectations.
It's beautiful.
I know we had a scene of Luke and Leia together in The Last Jedi, but Luke was a Force projection, therefore rendering the whole of that scene, to me, kind of weightless, and kind of takes the emotion out of it in a way because Luke is somewhere else. Plus Rian Johnson killed off Luke by the end of the movie for no reason, so that for me cannot be forgiven. So that's why you're on this list too, buddy.
I would be worried if everybody across the board was like, yeah, that was a good movie. It's much more exciting to me when you get, you know, people who walk out just, I mean, literally saying that was the worst movie I've ever seen. Having those two extremes to me is, you know, is the mark of the type of movie that I want to make.
After watching what we've been given so far, The Force Awakens and Last Jedi, and once again if you're watching this in the future and you've watched episode 9, then I pray episode 9 salvage at least something, but we all know how that's going to end. And then it's clear that something went wrong in the writing of these stories early on. Something happened, because why would you create new Star Wars movies, something the fans have been dying to have ever since Revenge of the Sith, then write a story where Luke, Han and Leia, the three main heroes, the three characters which are and always will encompass Star Wars, aren't really going to be in it. And when they are, their characters in the movie are continuously going to be disappointed. More Luke Skywalker with that one. I mean, who approved it? Was it you, Bob Iger? Was it you, Lucasfilm Story Group? Was it you, Kathleen Kennedy? Probably. All I can think about is, what if George Lucas was being pitched these ideas? I feel like he would just laugh it off, or throw him out the room for their bad suggestions.
I want you to get out of this office right now. Out. Out!
It's beautiful.
If you break it down, kind of look into it, Disney Lucasfilm's market plan has come across as a really shady scheme. It's essentially to trick the audience and lifelong Star Wars fans into believing their favourite characters will be turned into Star Wars to get them into the cinema. But once they're there, the new Star Wars characters are shoved down your face, and we're made to believe that these characters are likeable and believable, not because they're well-written characters, but more for political reasons. I think the only person that seems somewhat believable is Finn. He's just a stormtrooper who made a moral decision to break away from the evil First Order and thus trying to escape. At least you know his backstory was and what his motives are, then it makes you kind of connect with him as an audience member. Rey, on the other hand, is the most unbelievable hero character written, perfect in everything, and could summon any Jedi Force ability she could think of out of thin air. Yet you're forced to like her as the new hero, and Kylo Ren is meant to be this all-powerful, dark-side, red saber-wielding person who's not a Sith. To be dueling with a former stormtrooper for more than 15 seconds, to then lose by a girl who's never held a lightsaber until that day. I mean, come on, these are the new Star Wars heroes that were meant to supersede Luke, Han, and Leia? The fact of the matter is, these new Star Wars characters aren't believable or relatable, so that's why Disney has spread their original heroes out in each movie. Episode 7 includes a lot of Han, before he was killed off, Episode 8 about Luke before he was killed off, and Episode 9 about Princess Leia. And you know what they would have done to a character, but instead they've decided to do it to Lando. They've been used to lure you into the cinema to watch the film. Why else is Lando returning in Episode 9? Why didn't he come back in Episode 8? I mean, Canto Bight seems like the perfect place for this smooth talker like him to be hanging around in. Oh wait, the marketing tool to bring you into the cinema because Rian Johnson and J.J. Abrams have already killed the other heroes. And if you're thinking, well, I don't think Disney would have done that, then I say unto thee, oh, believe me, they would. Why else was Luke not in The Force Awakens until the end? The perfect opportunity for him to come back was when Rey reached out and grabbed the lightsaber with the Force. That should have been Luke Skywalker. Mark Hamill even expressed that that's what he thought was going to happen when he was reading the script. Luke was the driving force to make sure the audiences go to watch the next film, The Last Jedi. It's clear to me now that after watching Last Jedi, my worst fears had been realised. There's no possible way for these characters to return. Disney have made the biggest mistake by just letting Lucasfilm write whatever garbage they wanted, thinking that killing off the main characters would be what the fans would want. No. This approach to storytelling to a franchise as important as Star Wars to so many people is mildly disturbing. The approach that they've taken for these new Star Wars movies is out with the old, in with the new, but be sure to ruin the old whilst you're bringing in the new. And whilst you bring in the new, bring in the new audience. And by new audience, I mean SJWs. So this is one of the main reasons why I'm not looking forward to Episode 9. They've ruined it by themselves.
You have done that yourself.
We've got one more main Star Wars movie, and there's been no character development for anyone. It all seems like a bad dream, a bad Star Wars dream. There are elements in the films which I like, but the main things I feel like have been destroyed in so many different ways, and the more I think about it, the more it upsets me. I think when writing these new Star Wars movies, they should have consulted and collaborated heavily with George Lucas and come up with something together, because the man understands Star Wars, he understands the Skywalker lineage, and they should have focused heavily around the Skywalkers, especially Luke Skywalker. But in their arrogance, they believe they can make anything better than the Star Wars prequels, and look what we got. You can see now in Episode 9, Lucasfilm desperately trying to salvage a story after what Rian Johnson created for The Last Jedi. But the biggest problem is, they've run out of characters to lure you back into the cinema. There isn't a story compelling enough to get me excited for Episode 9, or let alone even care about it. Luke Skywalker, my hero, was ruined. So do you think Disney made a big mistake by not having Luke, Han and Leia be together again in these new Star Wars movies? What would you have liked to have seen, and most importantly, who is to blame? Beautiful. Thank you, Ryan. So I hope you enjoyed this video. Give it a thumbs up if you did, subscribe to Skyman Universe, and join us on this growing Star Wars channel. Take care of yourselves, and remember, the Force will be with you always.